Josh McDaniels fired, doesn't even complete his second year with the Las Vegas Raiders. The only thing that surprises me, Robin, we've broached this subject before, and
we've talked about it.
He should have been fired. I mean, you could justify it after his first year, but every time I kind of brought it up, a lot of people would say, I mean, people in the NFL,
the money,
right? Like that. Yeah, like remember when they fired John Gruden, what do you have, that 10-year, $100 million contract?
Right. So there was 60 left.
6 years left, right?
Right,
now,
but he got a settlement. It was a settlement, right? He didn't get all 60.
You still paid him a lot of money to go away and not coach. And now Josh McDaniels has 4 years, Rob, left on his deal.
Was it a 6-year deal?
It was a 6-year deal. So he got 4 years left. So that was why people thought, they won't fire him. But, Rob, I think obviously the coaching job, I mean, he's been horrible. That team was 10-7 and made the playoffs the year before he got there.
And that was after the whole John Gruden thing blew up in their face, Chris.
Right.
And they
Rich Bisaccia came, the interim, and they played well. And then, Rob, they added Devontae Adams and Chandler Jones. So you added talent and got way worse. They went 6-11. They blew. Remember all those blown leads they blew? Yep. And I think, too, Rob, because the record, I mean, it's, what are they, 3-5? Not horrible. Obviously, many coaches, particularly in their second year, get to coach through something like that. But, Rob, you don't have to be a personality expert to see that the morale on that team was gone.
Yep.
It was gone. And I think that's what Mark Davis finally was like, look, this is not going to get better because our morale, and you saw it through Devontae Adams more than anybody, but our morale is gone. As long as he's here coaching, these guys are not going to play, well. And so I think he made the change for that reason.
And I also think, Chris, part of it is the quarterbacking situation. Garoppolo and Hoyer are both his guys.
Yep.
And after that, when Garoppolo got hurt, instead of going to the kid, right, what's his name, Connor, Chris?
O'Connell.
Yeah, they decided to go with Hoyer. And you know what Hoyer is. I mean, he's just a backup quarterback you could throw in for a game or two. He's not a guy who's going to – and why wouldn't you play the younger guy trying to find out what he is, long term and whatnot? Jimmy Garoppolo's not your future. And I think that there was a clash there.
I agree.
Where, where Mark Davis was like, dude, no, this guy's hard-headed. He only wants to do what he wants to do, and he has no results. I've told you this before, Rob G. I don't know if you got the number, but Chris, if you look at Josh McDaniels after the 6-0 start with Denver,
which they cheated to get
right, and now we know that
by the league about
we all know
he's 14-33 without that 6-0 start.
Think about that.
With no cheating, he's 14-33. And, Rob, that's like a 28% winning percentage. It's one of the worst in history.
And this guy's gotten 3 jobs, Chris. Don't forget he got the Colts job and stood them up at the altar. He's had 3 jobs.
Yeah, it is. Look, I get a guy having a bad first, go around as a coach. I mean, let's not forget Bill Belichick made the playoffs one time in 5 years in Cleveland, was fired there, and then, of course, goes to New England, and the rest is history. So,
he did go to the Jets for one day. Don't forget the Jets job.
Yeah,
he was the Jets coach for one day.
Right, and he pulled out of that, and that wasn't a Josh McDaniels situation. He just, wanted.
Josh never showed up.
Right, but so I'm not saying because a guy struggles his first time as a head coach that he could never get another chance. But, Rob, I don't know. Josh McDaniels, it was just a lot. There were a lot of reasons not to even hire him. I mean, the cheating scandal was one, as well as the just lack of productivity as a head coach in Denver.
And he's supposed to be this offensive
and
guru,
as you said,
Chris,
not going to Indianapolis.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of stuff not to like.
Yep.
And Mark Davis overlooked it. But this is because I don't know why these owners and people are enamored by the Bill Belichick coaching tree. Like,
well, you know why? You're saying they shouldn't be. But,
they should,
they just looking at a guy that won, right?
Right, but they shouldn't be, given the history, Chris, that most of the other guys who have gotten jobs have failed. I think, is it Brown?
Bill O'Brien?
Bill O'Brien in Texas.
And he did fine.
But they won a couple playoff games.
Yeah,
they won a couple
playoff
games.
He just couldn't take them to the next level.
Right.
But he's the one that's been the most successful by far. And that, look, the Patriot Way, I've said this, Rob, and I've compared the Patriots to the San Antonio Spurs. For one, they were both, I don't want to argue over what a dynasty is, but, I consider the Spurs a dynasty. Whether or not you want to give them that, they were a great team for for 20 years. And same thing with the Patriots. And they both had similar, type programs. And Rob, one of the keys for both of them, Tom Brady, as good as he was, and as good as he became, especially, always was coachable. He would let Belichick go off on him in film, right in front of the other players. And he was coachable. He accepted that. Tim Duncan, Rob, same thing with Greg Popovich. He accepted that. And when the best player lets that happen, everybody else has no choice but to, fall in line. But you saw with Popovich, Greg, or Rob, Kawhi Leonard wasn't having it. Different style of player, like different personality. Like, nah, I'm not going for that. And other players were like that. And until they just got Victor Wembanyama, it was looking bad. And we see the same thing with Belichick. He hasn't had much success, period, without Tom Brady. 10 years without Brady, he's coached, and only twice has he made the playoffs. But I don't want to take away what he did with Brady, because everybody's had great players. But still, every successful coach, I'm just saying, it may not have worked out for him, for all we know. But that Patriot Way, Rob, has not had much success else, or to be honest, without Tom Brady anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there, and I do understand. I just think when you look at the Bill Belichick and his success, Chris, to the side, it's one thing, especially since he's such a defensive guy, and that's what his strength is. But some of these other guys who have gone on, and if I was an owner, like even when they went back to Josh McDaniels, how do you go back to him, Chris? Like, it didn't work out in Denver.
You mean the Raiders hiring?
Yeah, like in the first place. Like, first of all, I'd be scared to death because what he did to the Colts, right? Oh, yeah, I'll take the job. Right. And then he stood him up at the altar. But then if they would have done their homework to see, like, they got off to that great start, and then it was bad. He also drafted Tim Tebow. Who else did he run out of there in Denver, for Tebow? Brandon Marshall and Kyle Orton. You remember that, Chris? He ran those guys out.
Running out Kyle Orton is...
No, it was Cutler. That's what I was thinking of. Cutler. Okay. Chicken Cutler. Jay Cutler. But my point is, I question that he got this other opportunity, and the offense, which is really the crime, because that's supposedly his strength, right? He's an offensive guy, and didn't really know how to use Davante Adams. Davante Adams had a really good year his first year, Chris, but it still didn't feel like he was utilized like he should have. There were games where he had
a huge year.
I know.
I think it was his second best year ever.
But there were some games where he didn't have stuff. He was frustrated, obviously. And this year with Jimmy G, it was obvious that he wasn't happy. And I just wonder, that bad showing on Monday night against the Lions, that probably was just the final straw.
My thing too, Rob, and the Raiders have horrific management, period. All right. And I mean, it falls at the feet of Mark Davis. Okay. And I'm not here to rip him, but still, they just don't do things the right way. And my thing is this, Rob, if you knew and you didn't know, this was obviously, you saw how bad things were, but this feels like it was kind of a last minute decision, because if you knew, okay, we're getting rid of the head coach, we're going to play Aiden O'Connell, all right, that means you're starting over, essentially. You're going in a new direction. Why not try to trade Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs, for that matter, and get something for them? Get some draft picks. Build up a storage house of draft picks for you to really start the right way. And they're going to trade those guys eventually. Devontae will probably be traded in the offseason, but you missed the great opportunity to move him now, or at least to see what teams would give up for him. And if you knew you were going to do this, why didn't you just trade him and maybe Jacobs as well? So to me, that's just another sign of their mismanagement. But Rob, to your point about the Patriots coaching tree, Rob G's got some numbers of the Belichick disciples and what they've done elsewhere.
Well, they haven't done a whole heck of a lot, guys. Okay, Sporting News identified 10 former Belichick coordinators or assistant coaches under him that went on to become head coaches.
I'm not sure we should call them disciples, Chris. Maybe sinners, because they haven't done the right thing.
Of the 10, only 2 of them are above 500 as coaches. One of them being Bill O'Brien, 4 games above 500. Al Groh being the other one. Of course, he only coached 1 season before going back to college.
Al Groh, was he with the Jets for 1 year?
Yeah, so here we go. This is the list in the way they ordered from worst to first. Josh McDaniels was 20-33. Matt Patricia, Rob's guy, 13-29-1. Don't discount the tie.
Awful with the Lions, Chris.
Guy had a pencil with the laminated play sheet.
That was a 9-7 team he took over.
He took over from Jim Caldwell.
That's right.
Ran it into the ground.
Joe Judge went 10-23.
Judge Judy was better.
That was a nightmare.
Romeo Crennel, who somehow got 3 coaching jobs, went 32-63.
Now that's the one that is surprising. Yeah, Romeo Crennel. 3 jobs. Where else did he coach?
Some of these, and Romeo wouldn't fall into this category, some of these were disasters.
Yes.
Like Patricia, and I think it's because of their personality. And Romeo was a different personality than these guys. But Patricia and Judge, the arrogance, right? This is how we do it. And I get it. You're a coach. That's what you do. But their arrogance and personalities just made the losing that much worse.
Right. And then, Rob, hate to bring it up again, your Detroit Lions, Jim Schwartz, 29-51. Bad head coach.
Schwartz
very good defensive coordinator.
Right.
Yes.
Right. He's doing great in Cleveland. Didn't he had a year or two where it was like, he's looking, I think it was 1 year.
Do you remember there was a game, I don't know if you guys remember this, there was a game where Jim Harbaugh, when he was the coach of the 49ers, beat Schwartz at the end, and they had this terse handshake. You remember that?
I remember that.
Let go of my hand or something. I remember that. Yeah.
All right, we move down the list. Eric Mangini, the Man Genius, 33-47. Now does great work for TV. I wonder if he wants to get back into coaching.
He had some good years, though.
Yeah, the Man Genius was, and then I believe I don't know if I'm wrong, Rob, you might correct me on this. Was he the guy who first suggested that they were stealing signs in New England?
Yes.
Okay.
And remember, he's the guy who was there. So that was.
And you know what? I'm not mad. Like, if I know we're playing you, don't pull that mess with us.
Right.
Well, but that was the whole thing. Is like, I know. Don't. Right. Yep. I know.
And then the last couple more recently, Brian Flores, 24-25. He might get another head coaching job soon. What he's doing with the defense in Minnesota. Yeah. And Brian Daboll, who started out of a cannon the first year with New York and now is finding out the other half lives. 11-13-1.
He sure is. All right.